Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. I just got back from a quick trip to California. I was there for 5 days, and now Kelly's gone on a work trip. So we're going to get on a project I've been wanting to do for a while. So while she's gone, I'm going to try to get this thing done. So stick around and we'll show you what it is. All right, we're in the wet season here in central Nebraska. We're on the tail end of winter. We're getting a lot of snow and rain, and it's all slushy and nasty outside. And I've been having an issue ever since we got our new pup, Ruby. She likes to go out and roll in the water, the snow, the mud. And anytime I'm outside, like if I go out and work in the shop, I take the dogs out with me. When it's time to come back in the house, she is just an absolute mess. And it's very risky with her taking her through the house into the tub where we've been giving the dogs a bath, because we have the good carpet upstairs, the couch, all of our nice furniture, the bed, and you never know where she's going to run or what she's going to hop on. Once she's in the house, she goes kind of crazy. So if you remember from one of our previous videos, I'm wanting to do a dog wash station down here in the basement in our utility room. So that's what we're going to work on today. I've got probably most of the parts I need, so we're going to get this done. So if you remember, this is the area we want to do it in here. Got Brandy and Ruby down here with me. The previous owner had set up kind of an impromptu shower down here. There was a curtain that went around up here, and then there's a floor drain down here in the floor. And I don't know if this was kind of his mudroom shower, but there's a shower right over here in the basement, not too far. So maybe when he was super dirty, this is where he would shower or something like that. But I've since taken the shower curtain out and all that stuff. So this is the area that I kind of want to do the dog wash in, since we're already plumbed here for hot, cold water, all that's going to be very convenient. And we have the room. All I have to do is move our humidifier. Probably won't need to move the salt container for the soft water system. So I'm pretty sure the tub's going to fit in here where it's at. So once I move the dehumidifier, we'll be in business. So first thing I want to do is we're going to remove this shower head up here and change it out to a hose. And this shower head here is actually a little more fancy than the one in the shower. So I'll take this one and put it in our shower that we use every day. So let's spin this thing off. This is a 1/2 inch pipe thread up here on the top. I just need a pair of pliers or something to spin this off. Okay, we've got our shower head off, and it was on just barely over finger tight. And the reason you can do that is that if you can see in here, there's a rubber washer. Now, if your fixture doesn't have a rubber washer and it just screws down on the pipe itself, you're going to need to use Teflon tape like you see here on the spigot. But with that rubber washer, 9 times out of 10, you don't need to use that. Now, another thing that if you didn't know, I'm trying to get this thing to focus. So in there, if you see where that rubber washer is, there's that little bit of screen. Now, if you ever get a new shower head and you install it and you just don't have the water flow that you would like, usually underneath that rubber washer, there will be a plastic disc with a little tiny hole in it, which is a water restrictor. So if you didn't know, you can take that little plastic disc out of there and open it up to full flow like this fixture is here. You can still see the screen, but there's no little plastic disc with a little tiny hole in it. It's been removed. So we will get full flow out of this shower head, which I can really enjoy a nice shower without that in there. Somebody else can conserve water. I want to shower. Alright, we got our new shower head put on. We took off the old one. You can see it's a little worse for wear. Kind of an old shower head. But you can see that little disc in there with the little tiny holes in it. We never had taken that out because we haven't taken this off since we've moved here. But we could have had a lot better flow if we'd have removed that. Now, one thing I want to tell you, if your shower head doesn't spin off easy, if it's giving you any resistance at all, you don't want to keep spinning because you don't want to loosen this pipe inside the wall and get a leak in there. So if it's giving you enough resistance to where it's not wanting to turn, use a pipe wrench up here on the top portion so you don't spin this pipe. So put a pipe wrench there and then use your pliers on your shower head, because you start leaking in the wall, then you're going to have problems. I'm pretty sure Kelly's going to be okay with that switch because she's going to have better water flow, and she actually has options on the spray pattern now, so hopefully she'll be good with it. So here's that little water saver dish washer that was in there, but this faucet, when you pull it out, they've keeping you from doing it, they made a small hole in the metal portion of this faucet. So you would have to get a drill bit now and drill that hole out bigger if you wanted more flow, which is easy to do if you got a drill press or something like that. You'll have to hold on to this portion with pliers because this portion spins, that swivel portion. So once you start drilling, that'll want to start spinning. So you need to hold it right here while you drill it. But you could easily double the size of that and get a lot more flow. So let's move on. We have this now that we can add our hose to. We can get rid, well, I may leave the shower caddy there because then Kelly can put the dog shampoo or whatever else she needs on there. I'll just get rid of these old brushes and stuff. So for our hose, we just got one of these 6-foot utility type hoses that you can put on your shower head if you want a shower wand instead of the shower head. They also make shower head connections where you can do both. There'll be a shower wand connection here and a shower head connection here with a switchable valve to where you can use the wand or the head. But all we need is this hose because that's all we're doing here. Now these hoses come with a 1/2-inch pipe thread ends on them on both sides, because the wands that you buy will also have that 1/2-inch thread just like this, or most of them will. Depends on the manufacturer, but most of them will. So we're going to screw that head on here. It comes with the rubber washer, so we won't need the Teflon tape, and we'll get this put on. All right, we got our 6-foot hose connected. All you do is put the washer in there, and then the washer seats on this flat surface here and creates a seal between this surface and the end of the pipe. Now you don't want to over tighten that because you'll ruin that rubber washer and possibly cause it to leak. So it doesn't need to be much beyond finger tight. So now on this end we have a little custom setup that we're going to use. Now the wands you can buy that go on the end of this, especially the ones with the on-off button, are pretty pricey. The ones that look like they have a shower head on the end, they're like $45. So I'm going to go a lot cheaper route with this. What I did was just buy a standard, what do they call these? The squirter thing on the hose. I don't know why I can't remember the name for this right now. Brain fart. Very cheap, like $4, and I bought the metal one, of course, and we can always put something on the end if we need to because it's got the hose deal. So for this, I had to buy the hose adapter, which takes us to 3/4 hose. Your squirter nozzle comes with a rubber gasket in it already, which is going to take care of this seal. However, this seal, we needed to go, this is 1/2-inch female pipe is what we bought this for. This is a 1/2-inch female close nipple, which will go into there and will also go into there. Now here we're going to have the rubber washer again, but I am going to get a little piece of sandpaper, and I want to make sure the end of this thing is flat. So I'm going to lay a piece of sandpaper on the workbench out in the shop and just run this to make sure I have a fairly decent flat surface with no burrs for this rubber washer. Now this connection between here and here is going to need our Teflon tape. So while I'm out in the shop, I'm going to put this portion into there so it fits real nice and doesn't leak. We've got our fitting together. Now ideally, if you could find a 3/4 hose to a 1/2 inch male fitting, you would eliminate a connection, which would be ideal. But you can't always get that. And then the second best thing would be to get a brass close nipple instead of a regular pipe close nipple, because this may rust in the future and we might be, disappointed that we went that way, but I had to do with what they had at the store. So we've already got our valve on here and we've already tested it. There's no leaks. And we got a nice spray valve. The reason I also like this valve is because you can control the flow just by how much you squeeze it all the way down to a straight stream if you need it. So that's really nice that you can control the flow just with your hand and you don't have to be moving valves around and stuff. So we're really going to enjoy this, I think. So let's get our water shut back off. We'll drain our hose out here. All right. So now we can hang our hose up there just fine. So our water portion is all done. We have hot and cold water here now. So let's start working on the tub. I'm going to move this out of the way and then we can start putting the drain and everything in the tub. Now if you have a question about our dehumidifier, it doesn't really run in the winter because we have really dry winters here at the dry cold. But in the summertime we get a little more moisture, so that's when this thing works well, and it takes the excess moisture out of the air so the basement down here doesn't start smelling musty. So if you got like a musty basement, you get one of these, it'll take care of your problem. Now normally you would have to empty every probably day or two. There's a reservoir down in the bottom of this, but this one has a feature where you can connect a hose and on the back, and instead of draining into this reservoir, it'll drain right into your floor drain or wherever you want it to drain, as long as it's lower than the machine. So that's pretty handy. So let's get the tub and we'll start putting the fittings in it. So our tub, I got just a plastic stock tank that I picked up at our farm store for, I think it was $40, something like that. And then to elevate it off the ground, which is my goal, because bending down at a bathtub hurts my back, and that's another reason why I'm doing this. I've just got 2 old egg crates underneath the bottom. We zip tie those egg crates together so they don't move around. The bottom of this stock tank has a lip on it so it doesn't allow the egg crates to come out from underneath there. Now the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to turn the egg crates upside down, and this tank and the floor and everything is sloped towards this floor drain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the drain in this end over here so the water runs down to the lowest point. And where that drain comes through the bottom, I'm going to cut a hole in the bottom of that milk crate to where the pipe goes through that hole. I'm going to make it just big enough for that pipe. So that also will hold this thing in the center of that egg crate, and if it's going to move, the egg crate will actually move with it. So we shouldn't have an issue. So next thing we need to do is we need to get the drain in this end. What we've got for our drain, we picked up a vanity size sink strainer assembly. What it does is you just cut a hole for it, you take these nuts off the bottom of this, and this strainer assembly fits down almost flush into the bottom. And then there's a rubber washer that goes on in this nut, and then this nut right here connects to this tail piece. So we have the correct size tail piece to go on there. This can be cut at any length that you want. I'm going to be cutting it fairly short. Now on this tail piece, you have to buy a nut and washer that goes on this direction. You just slide it, the nut first, and then there's a plastic lock ring inside of there that you slide on next. and then this tail piece will slide into any 1.5-inch pipe. So you would slide it into here after you get the nut on, wherever up it goes, and then this, you'd slide the plastic little seal down on there, and then the nut, and then tighten the nut onto that, and then that does your seal there. Now from here, I need to neck down to where I can get a hose on it. So what I got was this 1.5-inch slip to 3/4 inch pipe that will slip into there with some glue. And then we have a 3/4 inch pipe, which is this side here, to 3/4 inch like garden hose that's going to go into that. And then I bought a little short piece of hose to go from the drain in the tub down to the drain in the floor. Now eventually I'm going to take this PVC pipe, that it's the blow-off overflow from the water heater that comes down behind the wall. I'm going to put some T's in that to where I can just run the hose down and into that pipe. So this will be the only pipe coming out. I'm going to put an elbow on the end of this pipe going straight down, and I'm going to cut just a hole big enough in that grate to where the elbow sticks through the grate. So when the water comes out, it goes straight down into the floor drain instead of running out on the floor like it does now. So that's future stuff that I'm going to do. So we need to figure out what size hole we need to drill for our drainer assembly. Now if you want a bigger drain, you can use like a dish sink type drain like that one there. It'd be a little bigger. But for this, all we need is this. I'm never going to have a stopper in it because I don't need to catch water in that tub. I just need water to drain out because we have a constant flow of water from our hose. So here's our piece. It looks to be, we're going to need about a 2-inch size hole saw. And it doesn't have to be perfect. This can wobble around in there a little bit as long as our hole is smaller than the outside of this rubber gasket, but you don't want to get too far. Maybe I wouldn't go any more than like halfway, but we should have the hole saw out there. Let's go get it. All right, we were right about our 2-inch size hole saw. We have other sizes if we were to need it. Now if you don't have the correct size hole saw and you got to go by the store to get one, and you already have an arbor, make sure you check the style of your arbor, because there are 3 or 4 different styles. See, this one has the kind of oval hole there, which grabs onto the hole saw. Some of them are going to have pins that engage in here. There's going to be several different types, so make sure you buy the right type if you're going to buy extras. And that's what's nice about these hole saws, you can interchange the blades themselves. Now if you're going to buy an arbor as well, I recommend buying the arbor that's got the flat sides in it. This part that goes into the drill is just round like a drill bit. The newer drill bits will have the flat sides on them to catch the dogs inside the chuck. But the problem that you'll have, the bigger the hole saw you get, when this thing wants to catch, it'll want to spin inside your chuck. So if you can, buy the one with the flat sides on it, you'll be much happier. So we're going to measure where this hole's going to go. We'll flip this tub over and get our hole drilled. Got our hole drilled. How this thing works is it's got a centering bit here. You can see there's a drill bit. That penetrates first, and then as that goes through, it keeps your hole saw centered. If you didn't have this centering bit here, your hole saw would want to try to wobble around. And the teeth on this one are not the sharpest. But we got it drilled, so we're going to get our flange put in. What do you think, Ruby? This going to be your new bathtub? All right, we've got our drain in. Now normally this rubber gasket would need to go on the inside between the flange and the bottom of the tub. However, this adds extra depth to the flange in the bottom, so not all the water would come out. The flange on the sink on the inside is very, very thin. So what we did, instead of using this thick gasket, is we used some really good high-grade silicone on the inside, and then we screwed this down with our pair of channel locks, making it really tight. all of the excess silicone squeezed out the other side, and then we were able to wipe all that off. So we have a lot thinner profile on that drain than we would have with this gasket. Now you can see sinks are normally have a little lip to where that sinks down, and that's not an issue. But with this tub, we don't have that. So we'll show you what it looks like. It went up nice and tight. And we've also cut the hole for the drain to go through our milk crate there, so that's going to sit nicely. So the next piece to go on is our tail piece. So I'm going to go shorten this, and I'm also going to take these two items out into the shop, and I'm going to put some PVC cement on those and glue those together. So we'll be right back. Alright, cut our tail piece. We basically just cut it in half so we'd have enough to slip in here. And you can see our other piece came together real nicely. So what we're going to do now is we're going to fit our tail piece on our drain. Now these come with an extra little flange in here because these are not standard. Some of them are 1.5 inches and some of the older ones are 1.25 inches. And that's why they give you this. In case you have an 1.25 inch pipe, you can put this inside of this nut and it'll still seal. But this seal right here, this piece of plastic, seals perfectly around this edge here, right on there, just like that. So you got a nice tight seal once that nut screws down. So what we do, take your nut, put it thread side down onto your tail piece like that, and then goes on your drain and just tightens down, and you get a real nice tight seal. Very easy. Some of the nuts will have these little wings on them like this, to where you can put a little extra torque on them with your fingers, but these are all hand done. So like the drains under your sink, you can pull this stuff apart without using like channel lock pliers and all that. You can do it all by hand now. So I'm going to cinch that piece down and tighten it up, and then we'll show you what's next. Alright, the next thing you do is you take your nut, slide it onto your tail piece with the threads facing you, and then you put the little plastic bushing in there with the tapered side towards you. It slips very snugly over the pipe. And then you put your threaded piece of pipe over that, and then just tighten your nut onto your threads, and that creates that seal there. So we're sealed all the way through. So now I'm going to take our threaded pipe to hose adapter, screw that right in there, and then we'll take our channel locks and tighten that. And because this is plastic, we don't need to put any Teflon tape on there. We just got to snug it up real good. So two-hand job, so I'll grab a hold of this and then tighten this with the pliers. Now believe me when I tell you, there's a plumber out there in the world at this very moment going, what a moron. All right, now we've got our hose connected. Now this is called a leader hose. It's just a short little hose. Actually had female on both ends. We've cut one end off because we're going to shorten this even some more. So what I'm going to do is when I put the tub down and we put the drain through this hole, I'm going to bring the hose out through that little grab handle thing there, and then just hold it out to where it's going to be over the drain. And then, like I said, later on we're going to plumb it all into that plastic, so we only got one little drain coming out here. Alright folks, there we have it, a custom doggy wash station. That's what she looks like on the inside. It's going to be real nice. Going to enjoy using this so I don't have to bend over up in the bathtub. So after this silicone dries down here, we can start using it, but hopefully it won't be today. There's our hose right there. Had to zip tie the hose to the plastic because it's got kind of a memory. Once the warm water goes down and through there, it'll lighten up a little bit, and then we'll get that plumbed like we want it later on. So I hope you enjoyed our little project down here in the basement. I know it's going to serve us well here in the future for sure. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. We'd love to hear from you in the comments, so drop us a line. See you next time here on Mark Kelly Farm.